Hello, my name is Tom Ford. I'm one of the tutors on the Jack Creek Summer School, and I'm going to show you quickly how to scan the tragic iambic trimeter. First of all though, if you haven't seen my video on how to scan Homer, please watch it before you watch this video. This isn't so much self-advertising as for the fact that in the video on Homer I introduced quite a bit of metrical terminology which I'm not going to introduce again here. So hopefully if you've seen the video on Homer you will find this video a bit less confusing. Now, the iambic trimeter is the meter or the main meter of Greek tragedy, and you're probably wondering what the term means. An iamb is a metrical foot. It's a short followed by a long. And the iambic metrum is made up of two iambic feet. There we go. And trimeter means 3 times the meter. So we're going to get 3 of these, more or less. So we have 3 iambic metra, 6 iambic feet, and we also have elements. Elements are half feet. So there are 12 elements in a line of iambic trimeter. So I'm just going to draw the basic scheme of the iambic trimeter. Here we go. Short, long, and then I'm dividing up the 3 metra. Short, long, short, long, short, long, short, and the final syllable is anceps. However, it's a little bit more interesting than this. The poet has a bit more flexibility because the first syllable of each metrum is anceps. So I'm going to take out now the shorts at the beginning of each and replace them with an anceps. So you can see here we've got 3 iambic metra. I'm now going to draw in blue the 6 iambic feet. The second foot ends where the first metrum ends. Here's the third foot and the fourth foot. The fourth foot ends where the second metrum ends. And then the fifth foot and the sixth foot. And I'm also going to put in the elements. 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. So, because of the anceps at the beginning of the first, third and fifth foot, it means that in those feet you can either get an iamb or you can get a spondee. Meanwhile, in the second, fourth and sixth feet you can't get any spondees, but you only get iambs. So, let's scan a few lines together of iambic trimeter. Please pause the video for as long as you need, do it in your own time, and then start the video again when you're ready. I'd really like it if you could please put down where the 3 metra are, the 6 feet, and the 12 elements. So here we go. I've got the spondaic first foot. I know the second foot has to be an iamb. In the third foot here, I've got the 5th element is long. So I've got a spondee and then an iamb in the 4th foot. I had to look up the upsilon in a dictionary because for the poet, the 9th element is anceps, so short or long. I don't know if the upsilon is short or long. I had to look that one up. Turns out it's short. And then we finish with short and anceps. I'm just going to put in also, so I've marked the feet. I'm now going to mark the metra, this time in blue. The feet are in green, and then the elements will be this time in red. I'm now going to do the other 2 lines. I'm only going to put in the feet this time. So, here we go. So, hopefully your answers were the same as mine. Now, we saw in Homer how a line of dactylic hexameter is made up of two parts, a slightly shorter part and then a slightly longer part, separated by a main caesura. This is exactly what happens in iambic trimeter. The main caesura comes usually after the 5th element or after the 7th element. And we don't talk anymore about strong and weak caesuras, that's only for the dactylic hexameter. Instead, we talk about pentamemeral and heptamemeral caesuras. That's a bit of a mouthful. The Greek word for 5 is penta, and the Greek word hemi means half. So after the 5th element, that is literally after 5 halves. So here I put down an H because we find a word break here. We find the main caesura after the 7th element in the line. And in the second example, we've got both a pentamemeral caesura and a heptamemeral caesura, but the pentamemeral one is stronger because you can see here there is punctuation, there's a comma. And in the third line, we have a pentamemeral caesura. Now, the meter is actually a little bit more complicated and more interesting than what we've just seen because of something called resolution. We saw in Homer how a dactylic foot could contract into a spondaic foot because metrically speaking, two shorts are the same as a long. Now, in iambic trimeters, the exact opposite happens. A long syllable can be broken up into two short syllables, and we call this resolution, from the Latin word resolutio, meaning breaking up. And resolution can happen with all the long syllables in the line, including the 3 which are anceps, so the 1st, 5th, and 9th elements. The 12th element, however, the anceps at the end, that cannot be broken up. So the whole scheme is actually as follows. This is the basic scheme, and then I'm going to put all the long elements which can be broken up. And when you get resolution, it only happens within the same word. You cannot get resolution split between two words. This is because we have something called a bridge, and the bridge means you're not allowed to have a word break between two syllables. And we show this bridge by marking it like this. So this just means that the resolution has to happen within the same word. It can't be split between two. If you're wondering about whether a line's got resolution or not, a very good thing to do is to count the number of syllables before you scan it. So we know that for a basic line of iambic trimeter, by that I mean a line which doesn't have any resolution, we've got 12 elements and we've got 12 syllables. Now, a line with one resolution is going to have 13 syllables, and a line with 2 instances of resolution is going to have 14 syllables. Okay? And one of the things to do, like I said, is count. So I'm going to count the number here, in this example from the Electra. Alokon ekenu tundarida koren ekon. I've counted 14 syllables. If I've counted correctly, I've got 2 instances of resolution. Where are they? Well, here the alpha, the first element, that is anceps for the poet. I don't know whether the alpha is long or short. In the second element, I'm expecting a long syllable. But here, I find in the second syllable here, I have an omicron, and it's only followed by one consonant, which must mean that this syllable is short. So I'm already thinking, yeah, I must have an instance of resolution in the first foot here. let's look at the next syllable. The second omicron is followed by one consonant. That's got to be short as well. Is that the beginning of our second foot? Is that our third element? Well, looking ahead, we've also got an epsilon here, and that is only followed by one syllable, so that's also got to be short. And we know that the third element has got to be short. Or said in another way, we know that the first syllable of the second foot must be short. So I think this is the third element, and I think that here, with our two omicrons, we've got the second element broken into two. So I'm going to call it 2A and 2B, and I'm going to show the resolution by putting in the bridge, which shows it happens in the same word. The alpha of alecon turns out to be short. I had to look this up in a dictionary. And then the rest of the line, well, the fourth element is long. That's the end of our second foot. We're into the third foot now. We've got a spondaic third foot with a pentamimeral caesura. The seventh element, so the beginning of our fourth foot, has to be short. And then I'm going to go from the end. I'm going to go backwards. I know that the sixth foot has to end short anceps. That's the 11th and 12th elements. The 9th and 10th elements in the fifth foot, that's short and long. And therefore I know that the 8th element has been divided into two. Here we have resolution, which is our second instance of resolution in the line, 8A and B. Again, let's have another look at the second example. Count the number of syllables. Pause the video now if you want to do this. Moi men udes muthos antigone philon. 13 syllables. If I've counted correctly, I'm expecting one instance of resolution. This is the first foot, and the second foot, and the third foot. I know that the upsilon of muthos is long because it's got a circumflex. And in tragic trimeters, any vowel with a circumflex over it is long. The fourth foot, the seventh element, it's got to be short, short, long, that's our fourth foot. And then it's clear that in the fifth foot, we've got a resolution. So the ninth element has been broken up into two, A and B, and then 10, 11, 12. So, as a result of resolution, you can get feet in the line which aren't just iambs or spondies. You can get feet which are dactyls, and feet which are anapes, which is the reverse dactyl, and you can get feet which are tribrachs. Tribrach is a three short from tri, meaning three, and brachus, which is the Greek word for short. Looking at the lines we just did, we've got in this one here, we've got a tribrach in the first foot and in the fourth foot, and in the second we've got an anapes in the fifth foot. Just before we finish, there are a few more general important things to note. In Homer, we always had to be on our guard for hiatus. It sometimes led to corruption, it sometimes didn't. We don't have to worry about that in iambic trimeter because it doesn't happen. So that's nice. Any vowel, like I just said with muthos, any vowel with a circumflex is long. So for example, the upsilon of nun has to be long, the first alpha of ara, that's long, the iota of dios, that is long. Now this is also true in Homer. In Homer, words which have circumflexes, they're also long. However, because of Homer, you sometimes get hiatus and corruption, so that means that in Homer occasionally a vowel with a circumflex can become shortened. That's not true for the iambic trimeter, where a vowel with a circumflex is always long. Just as in Homer, you can sometimes get synesesis. That is when, well, you know what synesesis is from that video. A particular favourite with the Tradisians is the disyllabic word teos, God, becomes monosyllabic, chios. We signal that with our upside down sublinear arch, and it's a long syllable. A similar idea, which does exist in Homer, but it's very rare, is something called crasis. And crasis is very common in Greek tragedy. In some ways, crasis is quite similar from synesis. It's two vowels merging together and forming a long. But the difference is that synesis happens within a word, whereas crasis happens between two words. And where crasis happens, you get two different types. The first type is kai, and then followed by a word which begins in a vowel. And the second type is the article, followed by a word which begins with a vowel. Here are some examples. You've got kai and eme. That contracts together, mixes together to form kame. And the vowel which has been mixed is always long. And you can see it visually because Greek gives you a little punctuation mark to signal where it's happened. And this is called a coronis. So look out for the coronis. Here again, ta and emma. Crasis forms tama with a long first alpha here, as shown by the coronis. This example at the bottom gives you an instance of crasis. Pause the video for a second and have a go. So the first element is in theory anceps, but we know here it has to be long because we've got a coronis, we've got crasis, and then the rest of it. Well, first of all, I should have counted the syllables to see if we've got any resolution. Kago, kakos, phonous, eme, kanes, amen. We've got 12 syllables, therefore we don't have any resolution. So that's the second foot, third foot, fourth foot, fifth foot, sixth foot. You might have noticed here we don't have any main caesura after the fifth element or after the seventh element. What we do have, however, is we've got elision after the sixth element. That can count sometimes as being a main caesura. So, that is a quick introduction to the tragic iambic trimeters, and I hope that if you have watched this video, you should be now able, hopefully, to scan most lines of Greek tragedy. And to give you a chance to see how you can do, I've put some lines from last year's Greek tragedy at Bryanston, Euripides Bacchae, on a sheet of paper, and on another sheet of paper you'll find my answers. Another thing is, if you want to get really good at scanning Greek tragedy, the best thing to do is to learn how to write it. So if you choose to read Greek at university and you have the option to do Greek verse composition, it's an absolutely fantastic opportunity to see how the tragedian structured the line, and it's great fun, so at least give it a try. Now I hope you enjoyed this video. For other videos, please go to our website www.greeksummerschool.org. Thank you very much for watching.